Hi everyone, it's John Mitchell and we're going to continue on with our motivation theories videos, and this video is about the goal setting theory, which was developed by Locke and Latham. Now Locke and Latham found that goals could lead to motivation in employees, and that's the whole basis of this theory, which is stating in order to motivate employees we should set goals. However, not all goals provide a high level of motivation according to Locke and Latham. So in order to do so, in order to provide that high level of motivation, they found that goals should follow 5 key principles, and those 5 key principles are clarity, challenge, commitment, feedback, and task complexity. Now there's no order or anything like that, so there's no sequence, but these are the 5 principles that should be followed in order to provide a high level of motivation when setting goals for the employees. So the first principle that we're going to go through is clarity. So it's important that goals are clear and specific. It's not enough for a manager to say to an employee that we want you to increase sales and setting that goal for them. That could cause confusion for the employee because they're not exactly sure how they're going to be measured, when this needs to be achieved by, or how much is the increase. Is it a 20% increase? Is it a 1% increase? They're not really clear on what it is they need to achieve. So what is more clear and specific is for them to come along and say, well, we want you to increase sales by 8% within the next quarter. That then gives the clarity that the employee needs, because they know exactly how they're going to be assessed and how they're going to be measured and when it needs to be achieved by. Principle 2, about challenge. So the more challenging goals create higher levels of motivation. So the more challenging a goal is, the more motivation it creates. And this is a real key principle of this theory. What they found was that there was a key link between, or a key relationship between, the amount of challenge that a goal provided and the amount of motivation that it creates. So the higher level of challenge, the higher level of motivation it created. However, there was up to a certain point. Goals cannot be overwhelming. So to increase sales by 8% next quarter, that may be a challenging goal for this employee. Let's assume that it is. However, if to come along and say, well, we want you to increase sales by 40% within the next quarter, that may be too overwhelming, and therefore the employee might think, well, that's impossible, therefore I'm giving up, or I'm not even really going to try that hard in the first place. The same happens on the flip side. So if the goal is too easy, and let's say we want to say, the manager says, we want you to increase sales by 1%, that may be very easy for this employee, and therefore they're not fully committed, or doesn't provide a high level of motivation for them to achieve that particular goal. Principle 3 is about commitment. So where the employer is committed to achieving the goal, provide more motivation to the employee. So how can we do that? Well, it's one thing for a manager to put a goal onto the employee, so saying this is the goal that we're actually setting for you. The employee may not be fully committed to that goal because they haven't really had a say in what the goal is. And so what we mean by collaboration is where the goals are set collaboratively with the manager and the employee together, so that the employee is having a say in what goals they are going to achieve, and the manager is also having a say so that they can align the individual or the employee goals with the overall business objectives, so that if the employee achieves their goal, then the business will be achieving their goals also. Now that the employee has had involvement in the setting of the goals, they're more likely to be committed towards the achievement of that. Principle 4 is about feedback. So regular feedback helps maintain momentum and keeps the employee on track towards the goal. Now that feedback can be very formal, it can be informal, or it can just be simple recognition, those types of things. But it could be things like the manager coming along and saying, well, I like the way you've done this, towards the achievement of this particular goal. Or it could be that the employee is actually struggling to work towards the goal, and so that the manager comes along and gives some constructive feedback and some advice on how to achieve this, or maybe try this strategy. Or it could be an individual feedback where the employee just looks at data. So let's say, again, they're trying to increase their sales. Well, they look at their conversion rate this week. So the amount of people that they've actually been seeing, what percentage have they converted into a final sale, and they could be monitoring that so that they're gathering feedback on how they are actually performing. That can help maintain the momentum and the motivation towards the achievement of the goal. And the final principle that I'm going to talk about is task complexity. So similar to what we said before, tasks should not be so complex that the employee has no expectation that they can achieve it. If it is a very complex task, then support should be provided to the employees so that they feel like they can achieve it. That expectancy is very important when providing the motivation to the employees. So they're the 5 key principles that Locke and Latham said: clarity, challenge, commitment, feedback, and task complexity. So in order to provide a high level of motivation for the employees, those 5 key principles were very important. And obviously, clear specific goals that are challenging but not overwhelming, where the employee has commitment, there's ongoing and regular feedback for the employees, and the tasks aren't so complex, or if they are complex, there's support provided. That can help motivate the employees. So for questions, activities, and to find out more about our Unit 4 and exam preparation lectures, then come on over to teachingbubble.com.